This letter is addressed to Tasting History with Max. Max, my name's John Weaver. I live in Antelope Valley, Roseman, California. I used to be a Valley Light. So the Valley was my home turf a long time ago before I moved out here to '05, and I'm still trying to ask myself why the hell I'm still out here in the first place. Priced out. But this is in response to a video that you had concerning about the World War II rations before D-Day and what you were talking about, the Army manuals. There's about a couple of them out there. I did a Google search on that. Did you know that they got a TM 10-406 that talked about dehydrated foods, including the stuff that you're cooking with? Internet.org. Good stuff to find in there. But in regards to surviving on dehydrated food, believe me, the taste, once you get used to it, is not exactly all that bad. And then your taste buds are already fried out anyway. I tried it a long time ago when we had different packaging methods and we had different things going on. You see, I was a camper at one time. Not a constant one, but I had been camping. I also had held on to long-term storage back then, and had to use it all up. There was a lot of camping food out there that you would get from your local Big Five sporting goods stores when they actually had them out there in business. On Granada Hills, San Fernando Valley Mission, and what was it? Balboa? Yeah, Balboa. Big Five was out there, and I perused their camping area, and they did have a large selection, even more soft than what I've seen online, especially through Amazon. And having a conniption fit with all the prices because prices have gone up with the bulkier amounts of food out there, it'll blow your mind. And I've heard from stories from a lot of people that there are survivalists out there who live on that stuff. Must be nice having that kind of money to spend upon bulk stuff all the time. There's a Winco out here in Lancaster on K and 10th Street that you can buy the stuff in bulk before they put it out in shelves, but you can actually buy the stuff in bulk in massive containers, and some people have been doing that. You just see some of the bulk stuff out, but the bigger ones, massive cans of powdered eggs. I've got one for pancake mix, and I don't use it all that often, but I use it when I get the hankering for pancakes. I also did a cost analysis in my head on this one concerning about real food versus the powder stuff. Well, for some people it may have been cost effective. These days, for me, it isn't. Out here, I pay $5.05 for 12 dozen, or actually, just a dozen eggs. 12 eggs, $5.05. For a big, bulkier container, it's like 50 or 60 bucks worth. But for that amount of eggs, that would be about equivalent, $10 to $15. If I'm lucky enough to find a package for that amount, or a small amount, how about 10 bucks for a 2 serving of Mountain View survival eggs? 10 bucks on Amazon for 2 servings. Some of them actually have mixed stuff, and others are just scrambled eggs with bits of bacon in it. It's like taking small package of bacon bits off the shelf and mixing it in with powdered eggs, and there you go. How much would that cost? I'd be asking myself that same question myself. Depends on where I go. Out here in Roseman, we've got Albertsons. They don't deal with bulk entirely, but not like Winco would, not like Costco would, and sure as hell ain't Sam's Club, which I have neither access to. But if I was going to Albertsons regarding bacon bits versus the real bacon, so let me put in bacon bits. Now, just to get a tube out of Albertsons, By the way, I've been watching your shows a great deal. I'm learning a lot of stuff. You are very knowledgeable, kind sir. Okay, for a 3 ounce uh, package of Oscar Mayer bacon bits, artificial crap, 450. For Hormel, 4.3 ounce, $6.75 for the 40% less fat, real crumbled bacon they call it. And for the McCormick 4.4 ouncer, it's $3.95 basically, $4 for that thing. Now, if you want the meat counter bacon ends and pieces smoked, that's about $5.65 per pack, estimated about a pound and nearly a half. Do the math in your head. I don't want to keep that in mind. So now that I got the bacon bits, artificial, and the price of eggs, if that stuff was dehydrated on the market, $20 or $30. Hold on to your. Try this one. You want sausage crumbles from Nutristore? About a 1.76 pound can. Oh, $59.49. That's equivalent to 53 cents an ounce. Cost comparatives. That's what scared the crap out of people, including me, when I kept seeing some of this stuff. And when I went to camping eggs, or camping food, but just trying to find the camper eggs, dehydrated, powdered stuff. And they scare me. They scare me. If I get this into the low to high range, just to see what I'm dealing with here. Okay, for how about an 8 ounce, 1 pack of Future Essentials canned powdered eggs? $21, or actually $22 for that one. Scary, isn't it? For 8 ounce. How about dehydrated egg crystals? 4.5 ounces, and you get about a pack of 6 of them. $54. Augustin is one of those companies that also does the freeze-dried stuff, such as the baking mix powder, such as the stuff I'm using, pancake mix mostly. Dehydrated old. I used to have a container, and I had to use that up before it got expired. But for a container that they had about, I'm just trying to get this information from it. Trying to get the 100 count. Okay, 11.92 ounce. 11.92 ounce. We're talking about $42 roughly on Amazon. Yeah. I said before, I haven't done any Costco shopping in a hell of a long while, so I don't know how much that would be costing. Just for the dehydrated stuff, or let alone Sam's Club for that one. But just dealing with an online mail order, it costs more to get dehydrated stuff and the survival stuff than anything else. If I had the money for it on fixed income, yeah, it would be. I still got a couple of huge cans of dehydrated milk just in case. But I'm so used to getting the fresh stuff. I've got that stuff stored for about a couple of years already without opening. Pretty shortly, I got to see what the hell's going on in it. Oh, try this one. How much do you like cream of wheat? Augustin Farms. Should we talk about this one? And some of this stuff is available on food stamp cards. Well, as a part for some of us who are actually on fixed incomes. But we have to balance things out a bit. But if I actually had the money, I'm not quite sure if I'd be really going crazy over the stock like that. It's one thing going over to Amazon every once in a while for dehydrated food such as uh, ramen noodles. You know, back in the 70s and 80s, I remembered, and I think they changed it back in the 90s on this one, that they used to have dehydrated vegetables and eggs and sausage mixed in with noodles, or just eggs and stuff, or pieces of chicken in it, or pieces of beef. They'd have a meal in a cup. No longer. That their stuff. I don't know what the hell they call it anymore. But the ramen noodles I can get is a lot cheaper than what I'm seeing these days. Uh, I could make meals out of these packages, at least one. Throw some stuff into it, drain it off the liquid, put some soy sauce. No problem on that. You know, you get your bag of frozen vegetables. And maybe you get processed meat or something like that with it. But once you get it boiled up in the water and just throw everything else and throw soy sauce, it's not all that bad. To the creamy white cereal of Augustin Farms, 63-ounce pack of one. How about $8? Or actually $8.50 on that one. About 36 servings for cream of wheat. That is a bargain compared to the regular cream of wheat farina I'm eating. It is. It is a bargain. And I have to wait a couple of weeks for that stuff. Or if I'm lucky, maybe the next day on that. But it does cost. Dehydrated potato shreds. Well, it was about $13 on that one. Chopped onions. Chopped onions. The same thing, dehydrated. Oh, about $11.50 on that one. With those, you can actually make a weird-ass meal on it. For about $32 on that one. There's a lot of weird stuff you can get these days online compared to what you would go through when you're going to the supermarkets. My family didn't go in for the dehydrated. We went in for the natural stuff, but if we was going to be going for the pastas all the time. And we would go to the meat markets when they actually had meat markets, and they had private meat markets opening during those days. Back in the 70s, 80s, some were shutting down, but back in the 70s, there would be surfacing families who had EBT money, food stamps. I don't think I've ever seen you do that on there. Well, it is part of tasting history, isn't it? Food stamps. Pieces of paper. 1, 5, 10, 20. Sometimes you get about $100 and $200 depending on your status. And also depending on the process that you would go through when you're going over to the county areas to register for it. God, what a bureaucratic mess. Van Nuys Boulevard. Where's it best? Carnation, the old Carnation building right by the LGM plant and the railroad tracks. It hurts like hell to talk about this stuff because I lived in the San Fernando Valley for 38 years. My family moved out from Huntington Park when I was born. 2 years out in Huntington Park. And Mom brought me and my big brother, 8 years older than I was, David, out to North Hollywood to an apartment complex on Ethel and Van Owen. And we lived in the area. We actually had an Albertsons. We had a delicatessen. We actually had Pop and Taco. Wenzel's. Laundry. We also had Canyon Drug. Lots of candy tchotchkes in there. Dipsticks. You get this sugary candied stuff and you mix it into these powders that they have. Yeah, I remember those damn things. Or how about cigars? Chewable bubblegum cigars. Pretend like you're one of those people smoking like crazy. How to get you hooked on cigarettes real fast. Yeah. In the supermarket, we actually had baggers and we had checkers. We actually had a liquor department. They didn't have any rotisserie, cooked chicken. You had to cook all your you had to cook all your meals over there. We lived out there for a while. Even survived the '71 earthquake. That was not fun. Not fun. Moved out to Arleta in '76. Not fun on that one either. I had Vons out in the area. Arleta. But while we were living in North Hollywood at the time, and also in Arleta a little bit, said before the registration for the paperwork was a nightmare in this one, Max. We had to drag in me and my brother. Ma did. Hopefully not kicking and screaming. And had to wait for the bureaucracy to happen to add people in this place. I don't know if it's still there or not. On my channel, Diary of the Griever, named John Weaver, I talk about memories because I talk about emotions, grieving, losing family. If you notice the cabinet on my left shoulder, Ma back in 2013, Dave back in 2018, God rest their souls. So yeah, my channel is basically dealing with human emotions at this point over here, but I also deal with politics. But also memories concerning about what I lived and did and survived through and cooked and ate and stuff. So I'm coming across a lot of those vintage, do you remember when postings on YouTube? And they're coming out with those vintage foods out there that I'm shaking my head and thinking, what are you guys talking about? Never seen this stuff before. Some of I had, but the rest of it, I didn't. And every time I keep talking about the San Fernando Valley, it's always bringing up hard memories. Good, but also hard memories. Because I remember places I used to live in. And this stuff I normally would talk on my channel on this one. But I'd rather share things with you anyway on this one. Why not? Because you're sharing things that, that people had gone through, so I had gone through things. So you've been in the valley long, I hope, and you've probably seen a lot of changes happening in the valley in a lot of places that we've gone through. So if you lived in the valley, you know where Lancashire's at, and you also know where Laurel Canyon's at. So back in North Hollywood time, back in the time when we can go through there. Not Laurel Canyon. Lancashire was for the meat market and an outlet for the dispersal of the food stamps from back in the 70s. But it was a place on Van Nuys Boulevard, little lower of Roscoe. So, yeah, it used to be. I'll turn on the satellite on Google Maps. Kind sir, so if you happen to have your laptop or cell phone, please kindly go to Google Maps or whatever kind of map program you have. And if you're looking for the terrain, now normally I would recommend for myself to go through Google Earth. They do have an app out there, but they also, I think they've got the website out there that people can actually use. If not that, Google works. Unfortunately, when you use the regular Google Maps, it doesn't have the time thing, unlike Google Earth, which can put you back about 30 or 40 years ago. And I would be able to recognize places back then. It takes a while for my old computer to start generating that kind of information. I can only go by what the current stuff is, but not the old stuff. It just, I don't know. It just works out that way. Some buildings have changed and other buildings haven't. So I'm just going to deal with the Google Maps for right now. It'll be easier on you and me. So if you look at the railroads that's going across the valley on the slant, right by Van Nuys, and the shopping centers have changed a great bit. Back in the 60s, 70s, I think 80s, they were starting to tear that damn thing apart, but it was still out there shutting down operations. They had it called the Plant, big, huge monster from General Motors. So on the north side of the freeway on Van Nuys Boulevard, a lot of buildings out there. Some are descript and some aren't. Some of those buildings I used to work in, actually went to. Uh, let's see, Armenta. Yeah, Armenta. They changed constructions around in that area. That's why I wanted to go through Google Earth, because if I can go through that program, I'm going to go through that program because I need to talk about this one here. So I'm going to put you on pause for a couple of seconds here. Well, for you, it's going to be instantaneous. For me, it's going to take some time for my computer to pull up this information. But we can still talk anyway. Well, my computer is still working on this one. It's an old laptop I got about 10, 15 years ago. It still works. Outdated programs, but they still work. So I'm not going to argue with that. However, Microsoft sucks. No, I'm just trying to get some of this stuff working here anyway. But I'll tell you something, going back in the past and remembering about this stuff, because it does hurt because of the thing I talk about on my own channel, Diary of the Griever named John Weaver. And losing people left and right, losing family and friends and pets, all connected, interrelated to me, that it forces me to look at my own damn mortality, but also the people that I cared about a great deal. And so, yeah, I deal with human emotions at that point. I also deal with the memories of what I've gone through and been through. Originally, I was using my channel as a lifeboat of memories. If anything happened to me concerning about my memories, if I happen to develop any dementia or Alzheimer's, I would need something to remind myself who and what I was and what I went through and what my family meant to me a great deal. I'm 58 years old. I watch your channel. I've been watching ever since the COVID kicked. And you came up with a lot of interesting recipes from different places I never would have understood. This one I had to respond to. I don't know. It just said that I had to check this out. So right now I am getting Google Earth on. Google Earth Pro. I don't know if you've got it or not. If you do, fine. But if not, try to follow me if you can, pal. Okay. The big default is looking at the United States. And at this point, I am going to be scrolling into the San Fernando Valley. And once I get in there, I am going to be looking at Home Sweet Home. Places I used to live. I'm going to center this thing for the north. So I'm looking at it up and down, east, west. Okay. There are little icons on the top menu bar, and one of them I kept dealing with on a basis is looking at historical imagery. I'm going back as far as I can, and it's about 1984 if I'm lucky enough. I want to get as far as 87 maybe if I'm lucky. It's going to be black and white, grainy as hell. But then again, I think everything else back then it was black and white, grainy as hell. We're looking at life as kids. Okay, so now I'm going through North Hollywood. Not NoHo. North Hollywood. Say it with me, Max. North Hollywood. Home sweet home. Coldwater Canyon Elementary School on Coldwater and Van Owen. I've been there since K through 4th grade. And then we had to move to Arleta. God help us. I don't know what the hell happened. But we had to do that. So now since I'm back in the grainy town, I'm looking at the black and white images here. I am trying to locate the Van Nuys Boulevard and Roscoe. And in the area, I would use the plant as a landmark as soon as the images come up on here. They have it shopping, but I want time. I want to know what the hell I'm looking at here. And I'm going back as far as I can on the sliding scale because there are certain sections here. 1994. You remember that year? What? You don't remember 1994? If you called yourself a Valley Light or a Valley person or a Valley dude, surely you would remember January. No, 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 no. What was it? January 17th, 1994. Where all hell broke loose. I'm not bringing it back to 71. That actually, 71 was a nightmare in itself with Silmar, but 94. Alrighty. So I'm back in 1994 looking at the black and white images. I think during that time they were reconstructing things and shutting down GM plant during that time because they did not have, at that time, if I remembered correctly, the shopping center. They just have the big, massive plant. You see the cars, the newest car on the stand. But across the street, they would also have an area of Carnation plant, or the offices out there. You remember Carnation Milk and Products? The milk and the powders. There's a street called Armenta, north of the tracks. Across the street, well, heads right into the plant anyway. But Armenta was the area where they had the bureaucracy. There was a place out there that we would park and lower a lot inside, take an elevator upstairs. Grainy as the picture is for black and white. It's not very good when it comes down for clarification, I'll tell you that much. But it's one of these buildings that my mother had went into. And this would be the place that we would deal with the county registration for the food stamps. They moved it many times throughout the years, throughout the decades on that one. My brother and I, when we were living in the valley, got older and we were able to cruise and peruse the valley. We'd drive past this area several times. Only because it was home at that point. I'm going to minimize the Google Earth. I'm putting up the regular Google Maps because I want to get a colored version of what the buildings were like during that time. Alright. Because there was a certain brick style that they would have. And I really can't see it as much when I'm looking at this thing. They've changed the area slightly. But looking at the black and white maps, man, they drive me crazy looking at this stuff. It just gets me sick to my stomach. But I remembered along this street that there was the county building in here somewhere. And they would give you the food stamps. Actually, you would have to qualify for that stuff. Ma had to do that. And while she was taking care of me and my brother, we also had two other ladies. We had an aunt and a grandmother. So that would add to the food stamps and to the cash aid. Getting out of this area on Google Maps, I'm going to get a wider shot, and then I need to get over to Lancashire. Where the hell was it? It was right by In and Out, but also in the area there was Stanley's Meat Market at the time. Yeah, it does hurt, pal. It does hurt. Especially some of the changes I've seen in the valley. Sometimes on the Google Maps, I can't get my bearings. They've had industrial areas change so much that sometimes my navigation through this area is questionable. Very questionable. I would have to look for In and Out Burger. Growing up in the San Fernando Valley, you knew which buildings and streets had which particular places that you can use as a landmark. And that's what I've done. And looking at some of the areas, as they've mutated into different things. It just drove me nuts. I remember there was a Beacon storage place at one street. If you lived in the San Fernando Valley, Max, you'd know what I'd be talking about, because if you drove up and down Lancashire those years growing up, unless you're a transplant, then you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I don't understand that one. Where the hell is this, Hamlin? Wait. Where are we at? Since we Marcus on that side with a brick wall, and there was a. So what was that? Okay, that was what I needed. I needed a 3D on this shit. Pardon my language. Oh, the tornado damn thing. No wonder I was having issues with that one. Okay, so I'm in the area, Hamlin Street. There she is. But it used to be a restaurant at that point. Okay, here we go. Hamlin and Lancashire. If I can get if I can just get a 3D on that one. I'd love to get a 3D image of this damn thing if I can get it going. Pardon my language. I'm not exactly. Yeah, well. The left-hand side along Lancashire, I can show you where Sam's Meat Market was. That they would accept the EBT. But if I can get further south on the street and locate In and Out, and yes, that's what a burger is all about. There's McDonald's. Oh, looking at the wrong side again. Where was it at? Had have been. As I said before, they've changed this thing so much. Okay, so bringing back Google Earth, I need to get a map of the places that I've been to. I'm going to switch my year. No, we'll keep 94 because I need that. I need that a great deal. If I only had a Thomas Guide. But Thomas Guide would give me some information, but not much. Okay, and where's Lancashire? Yeah, to me these things are important because they're landmarks, they're history. They're part of the things I grew up with. And I was home. You talk about history in general, about personal history, Max. Personal history. It's a different story altogether. I'm trying to remember. Where the hell was that image at? It used to be Beacon Storage. I remember that one. And it was In and Out. Okay. What I need to do. Put you on pause for a couple of seconds here. Sorry about that, Max. Okay, Lancashire Boulevard and Khalifa Street. There's still a row of shopping office buildings along that area. A long stretch between Emilita and Rato Oxnard. Along Lancashire. Because I'm using In and Out as the basis because it was across the street from the EBT disbursement office. It's in those places that you had to wait, show them your ID, fill out the paperwork, and get your food stamps. Ma did this on a constant monthly basis. And at that time, she would also drive up on Lancashire Boulevard, if I could try to find that place again, to Sam's Meat Market. Because in this particular place is where they actually were able to get the stuff. As I said before, sandwiched between Hamlin Street and Gilmore on Lancashire Boulevard. It's a pod shop right now across the street on it. And according to Google Maps, they're showing construction on this one. But in that pot shop used to be uh, a restaurant. Me and my brother had gotten some burgers. If we had the money for it, or we just got a little bit of money, we would do that. But across from it, and it was separated by a brick wall, was Sam's Meat Market. Oh, bunch of meat, paper wrapped, brown paper wrapped. Oh, that was something to see. Of course, the restaurant across the street from was okay. I remember Sam had given my brother and me some Braunschweiger. My brother loved it, and I'm like, "What the hell is this stuff?" I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand Braunschweiger. I didn't have that taste for food and flair like everybody else had. But I was remembering things about San Fernando Valley. Some things that you had talked about that would bring up certain memories of things I used to live and grown up with. I thought I'd wanted to share something about that because in certain areas that you hadn't covered, I mean, you cover throughout the different histories, but that's some of the histories that actually would affect us a great deal. You take the food stamps and you give some of them to the merchants that you're using, and you get change back. Now I know some people had tried to scam people left and right on that. You know, buy the food and then come around with a different person to return the stuff and get cash back. They had that scam going on, even with the damn cards that they've got going on. They still have that from time to time. So the state and feds try to clamp on that one real bad. But while you're in the process for the paperwork, imagine this: going to the market, say like Gemco, San Fernando Mission and Balboa. It's a Target right now. Gemco disappeared three decades ago or more than that. But Gemco was like your Walmart, somewhat. Discount place. You'd get everything that you want. You get your shoes. You get your clothing. You get your pharmacy. You get your eyewear. You want electronics? You got your electronics. You want your toys? You get your toys. You want the anything that Walmart has right now, Gemco had, but it was membership. So if you're a state, if you had the food stamps, you're qualified. Sign the paperwork, fill it out, get a card. And then every time you keep going up to the entrance, show the card, show the card. Even the kids would have to have the parents' cards with them, because that card would get you into Gemco. And I did that. I got my own card. Dave and I, my big brother, would shop in the stores like that. We'd scare the living daylights out of the clerks. We were trying to develop a technique on how to deliver food across the aisles. He toss, I catch. I discovered breakables. Oh boy, we'd have more problems with management and workers. Some stores would get thrown out because of that technique. We developed it. I mean, we got better over time to a point, and then after that we got aged and we said, forget it. Can't do it anymore. Can't tell you how many glasses and eggs we killed. An occasional gallon of milk. Sploosh! All right. You tossed it wrong. You didn't catch right. You tossed it wrong. You didn't catch right. Clean up and dairy aisle. Oh, God, there he comes again. Not you two again. Yeah, sorry about that. Whose fault was it? His. We pointed at each other on that one. We still argue about it from time to time when he was alive. But in Gemco, we tried to keep it, so we had to keep going in there and be safe about it. But I can tell you one thing: when you're on EBT cards, or actually on the food stamps before you switch to cards, Oh boy, Max, let me tell you about this one here. I know, it's getting a little late on this one. I'm sorry about that, sir. But the feelings of being persecuted in line, you see the eyes, you feel the eyes. Not from the cashiers, but from customers. Especially when you're going in the first week of the month. You're getting your groceries. You just got the stuff. So naturally, the day before, the day after that, or on that same day, you're going out and you're getting the grub for the month. At least 2 or 3 weeks if you're lucky enough. And every store was inundated like that. And the people who were paying by their own checks and their own credit cards and cash well looked at the EBT people because of all these things we had to fill out. We had to do signatures on $1, $5, $10, $20. If we wanted to break a lot of the 20s, we could do that. Piss people off, be shorter, but if we want to really tick people off, you fill out the ones, you fill out the fives, you fill out the tens, and right in front of the cashier. And it's bad enough when you see the amount of shopping baskets coming through. That can you open up another area, please? Can you hurry up? Ah! Oh my God! A young kid getting stigmatized on this one. Oof! A kid could not bring in the food stamps without an adult. My brother was old enough. We did the shopping. When we were living up in Granada Hills. I mean, we moved from Marlita to Granada Hills. But now let's see, we were on food stamps. Market Basket did that. We had the same actions over there. We moved over back in '76 over to Arleta. Vaughn's did the same thing too. The cashiers knew that food stamps were going to take a hell of a lot longer, but they never had a designated register for it. If they did, oh boy, they'd have to have 2 or 3 designated registers because here comes the first of the week. They knew they were going to get inundated. Not for losing stock, but for long lines of shopping because of people buying up the stuff. And the other customers were very pissed off on that one. They were very upset on that one. I mean, they were frustrated. They were yelling at the kids. I'm here waiting for. What are you doing here, kid? And where's your family? They're getting last minute stuff. So here they come. They got the money. Not very happy people during those days, I'll tell you that much. When they switched over to the cards, it's like using a credit card or a debit card. No problem. Slide the thing in there, put your numbers. You're in and out. No issue. Easy peasy, no problem. But the first of the month, it still drives the customer crazy. A lot easier using the cards, but the paper, I'll tell you, processing the damn thing. Ooh, it's even worse. Yeah, I did a tail end on that one. I worked at a Thrifties for about 2 or 3 months, and processing those things were rough. And I would have people yelling and screaming at me on that one. Will you hurry up? I'd see the looks on the people who are using the cards. Actually, not the cards, but the actual paper. I'm like, yeah, we're getting through this. Come here. So what we got? Just one customer at a time. And then I get the obnoxious ones in here. Like, can I help you? Ah! Ring me up. Did you not hear what I said? You're going to continue to yell at me, or she can calm down so we can get your process. I want the manager. I'm on break. Of course, my manager wouldn't be happy about that one. But they never did treat the people with the food stamps very well. But the people needed it for survival. The bureaucracy was bad enough that you had to keep reporting to a case manager every so often just to let them know and tell them what's going on. Sometimes families had to be dragged through the process. Even after you've been through it once, just to initiate it, you still had to go back through reevaluations. And then you still had to go back over to those places that gave out the food stamps. That's a bit of tasting history right there, is the bureaucracy. The differences between having a plastic card. Differences between having a card and not having a card. They call it a stigma, but I'll tell you one thing. These days, you have college students using these things for survival. Food giveaways left and right. You talk about the history. I talk about these days, not exactly history. What we're going through is living history. Living history. This is what I also talk about on my channel. So thank you for indulging on an old fart and his memories regarding what I've been through. I know this one gets posted on my channel. I'll probably do a follow-up on this one because these things happen. So, continue with your broadcast, kind sir. You are a wealth of information that I hadn't even listened to or learned about. Lusitania, World War II. The one thing, I know you covered isolated areas on some occasions and some generalized areas. You did a World War II rations, the Vietnam rations, the Korean War rations, probably did. World War One rations, even the Civil War rations, even astronaut rations on that one. And history is indeed important concerning about the food. Did you also look at some of the information that, like the U.S. Department, actually the Pentagon would be putting out, on how how sailors are living on the food that they get on submarines and on surface ships, let alone land bases, for that matter? That's something of an idea right there. But the other thing I was talking about, to me, it is history and it is personal because I lived through it. It's hard dealing with not knowing and not understanding and having the concept and perspective of the stuff I'd been through concerning about food stamps and bureaucracy. Because I'll tell you a little bit more about this one. It's getting a little longer, but I'm gonna do a side video and send that one over to you, pal. So give me a second.